Life is full of twists and turns. The path that each person chooses is also very different. Some people live without a purpose. Some just follow others. Some are constantly looking for garlic, planning their own future. Different paths. What each person receives is also different. Not just determining the purpose. Calculating carefully will lead to success. You need more than that. The first caterpillar, this caterpillar crawled everywhere possible. Finally, he came to an apple tree. He himself did not know that this was an apple tree, did not know that there were sweet fruits on top. He looked around, saw other caterpillars also crawling up, so he also crawled up without understanding why. Without a purpose, not knowing the path he should take, even more not knowing why he succeeded, not knowing why he failed. What will this caterpillar's life be like in the end? Maybe he will find a big apple, happy all his life, or maybe he will get lost, wandering around the tree canopy forever. But at least these worms do not contain any worries. Life passes very simply and gently. The second worm, another worm, also crawled under the apple tree. He knew clearly that this was an apple tree, and also determined that his goal was to climb up and get a big apple. But he did not know where the big apple was. He guessed that the big apple must be on a big branch. So he slowly climbed up, and when there was a turn, he chose the big branch to go. On the way, he met many similar worms. He and these worms had to fight fiercely to go on the big branches. He had to win and eliminate others. Finally, after much difficulty, the worm found an apple for himself. This apple was not small, but when he looked up, he saw that the apple on his head was the real big apple. Unfortunately, this apple was on a small branch that he had overlooked and ignored. The same goes for life. Not all broad paths many people take will lead to great achievements. Many times great things are on small branches many people ignore. Few people pay attention. The third worm there was another worm. Instead of climbing straight up the tree, he took the time to make a telescope. Before climbing, he used the telescope to observe carefully, looking for the biggest apple. Also carefully studied the path, how to go on this branch, how to turn at this bend. He analyzed everything meticulously. Was knowing clearly what he would encounter on the chosen path and having a clear response plan, it seemed that his plan would be very successful. However, the failure rate was not zero. It took too much time to calculate, consider. By the time the worm reached the destination, would that apple still be edible or rotten? Having a purpose, determining a detailed plan, is very important. However, don't forget to pay attention to the time. Maybe by the time you reach your destination, it will no longer be the same as when you planned. Asterisk the fourth worm learning from the lesson of the third worm. This worm redefined its goal, finding a promising young apple, timing it so that by the time it crawled to it, this apple would just happen to be a delicious apple. At that time, it just needed to crawl inside to enjoy the apple and have a peaceful life. To achieve such a life is not simple. First, we must learn from the lessons of those who came before us, avoiding the mistakes that others have made. Next, we must be able to see the potential of opportunities. Finally, we must have the courage to take a risk and bet on an apple that we believe has the most potential. Only then can we have peace for the rest of our lives. The fifth worm, this worm, is the most special worm. He does not act alone. First, he makes friends with many other worms. Then he builds his power, monopolizing an apple branch. From then on, all the apples on this branch belong to your group. What you have to do is to distribute this benefit well as ensure your group's position on this apple branch. You can do it. Not only you, but also future generations will not have to worry about food and shelter, which will save you a lot of hardship. If you have enough patience to read my story, then try to tell me which worm you will be.